Hello guys, we are Group A. Price elasticity of demand is a crucial economic concept that measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded for a product or service to a change in its price. In simpler terms, it assesses how sensitive consumers are to price fluctuations. In this video, we will take McDonald's meals as example to explain price elasticity of demand.
Hi, everybody. Today, we will discuss price elasticity of demand. What is the definition of price elasticity of demand? Price elasticity of demand measures how sensitive the quantity demand of a good or service is to change in its price. It reflects the percentage change in quantity demand in response to a 1% change in price. We will know that price elasticity of demand have 5. The first is elastic demand. That is mean ED more than 1. For example, like soft drink and car. This is the graph will be given and we will know very easily. The second is elastic demand. That is mean that ED is less than 1. For example, like petrol. This is the graph will be given for the less than 1 elasticity. The third is unitary elasticity. That is mean ED equal 1. So that is mean that the price and quantity are same, will not change. For example, like mobile phone. This is the graph will be given and we will draw like this. The fourth, we will know that perfectly elastic demand. This is mean that even the price or quantity is still 0. So that means it's not change. For example, like healthcare. This is the graph will be given and the 5. Perfectly elastic demand. That is mean small change in price result in filtering the change. That is mean inevitably. So that it means that consumers are very sensitive to price or only buy the product with lower specific price. For example, like coffee and tea. This is the graph will be given.
So now I'm going to talk about factors of price elasticity of demand. There are 4 factors of price elasticity of demand, which is availability of close substitutes, if the good is the necessity of a luxury, a proportion of income spent on the good, and time elapsed since a change in price. For availability of close substitutes, if consumers can substitute the good for other readily available goods that consumers regard as similar, then the price elasticity of demand would be considered to be elastic. And what if consumers are unable to substitute a good, the good would experience inelastic demand. For example, McDonald's can substitute by a restaurant like KFC and Burger King. So if they are raise the price level of their meal, the quantity demanded of their meal will decrease a lot. So McDonald's meals is elastic demand. So expensive product, lower income level group, and long-term of change in price is example of elastic demand, while cheap product, higher income level group, and short-term of change in price is example of inelastic demand.
Thank you, Jincheng. My name is Muhammad Aimazuddin Mislauddin. So I will continue the presentation. My part is to justify the formula and the graphical price elasticity of demand. To calculate the price elasticity of demand, we must have a formula. The formula has 2 methods, but for this slide, I will use the first method because it is easy to understand and calculate. We must ignore the negative sign and use the absolute value. Then the percentage change in quantity demand is divided by the percentage. Finally, we can get the absolute value for each graph. For this presentation, my group decided to use MACD Happy Meal as an example. My first graph is elastic demand. As you can see, this is an example of what the graph of elastic demand look like. For the price, I will use RM10 ringgit for P1 and RM8 ringgit for P2. And for quantity, Q1 is for 50 and Q2 is for 20. As I said, I will use the first method. As you can see, I put the number in formula and the answer is negative 1.667. This is not the absolute value because we must ignore the negative in the answer. So 1.667 is an absolute value. For your information, elastic demand must be bigger than 1. So the answer is bigger than 1, therefore elastic demand. Next is inelastic demand. As you can see, this is what the graph of inelastic demand look like. For this graph, the quantity for Q1 is 22 and Q2 is 25. So I will use the first method and put the number in the formula. After I calculate, I will ignore the negative and the absolute value is 0.0688. For your information, inelastic demand must be smaller than 1. Therefore, inelastic demand. Thirdly, there is unitary demand. As you see, this is what the graph of unitary demand look like. For this quantity, I will use Q1 for 10 and Q2 for 12. As I said, I will use the first method, so I will put the number in the formula and calculate it perfectly. After I get the answer, I ignore the negative and the absolute value is 1. Unitary demand must be equal than 1. So the answer is equal to 1, therefore unitary demand. Next is perfectly elastic demand. This is what a graph of perfectly elastic demand look like. For this graph, I will use 10 for Q1 and 12 for Q2. And I will put the number in the formula to calculate the answer. The answer is 0. For perfectly elastic demand, the answer must equal to 0. So this answer is perfectly elastic demand. Lastly, there is perfectly inelastic demand. As you can see, this is an example of what graph inelastic demand look like. And for this graph, I will use 50 for Q1 and 50 for Q2. After I put the number in the formula, the answer is infinity. Therefore, perfectly inelastic demand. So I will pass to Akmal to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for my friend Aiman Izzuddin. My name is Muhammad Akmal Hakimi bin Osman. So, I will continue the presentation. My part is interpretation of value from the formula and graphical. First, elastic demand. According to the graph show, if the price lowers from RM10 ringgit to RM8 ringgit, if it shows that happy means is elastic. Second, inelastic demand. According to the graph shown, if the price lowers from RM10 ringgit to RM8 ringgit, if the demand increases significantly, it shows the happy means is inelastic. Third, unitary demand. If the decrease in price is appropriately compensated with the increase of quantity, this brings happy means to unitary demands. Perfectly elastic demand. If the price remains but the demand changes, this causes it to become perfectly elastic. And the last, perfectly inelastic demand. If the demand stays the same after a price drop, this shows that McDonald's Happy Meals is perfectly inelastic demand. So, I will pass to Jovia to continue presentation.
Hi everyone, we are from Group 11. This is the last part of our presentation. And here we would like to discuss what will happen to the total revenue under two different circumstances.
Have you ever wonder what will really happen to the total revenue in the following price elasticity of demand for McDonald's under two circumstances, which is elastic and inelastic? The meaning of total revenue is the total income generated by a firm through selling products or services. It could be from cleaning or renovating services. Or in the case for McDonald's, they serve food such as burgers and pies.
So discussion, if the price elasticity of demand is elastic, an increase of price for a McDonald's Happy Meal will cause the total revenue for McDonald's to decrease. Therefore, the higher the price, the lower the revenue. So on the contrary, if the price elasticity of demand is also elastic, a decrease of price for a Happy Meal at McDonald's will cause the total revenue to increase. So the lower the price, the higher the revenue. What if the price elasticity of demand is inelastic? An increase of price from McDonald's will cause the total revenue to increase simultaneously.
So if the price of McDonald's Happy Meal has decreased under inelastic price elasticity of demand, the total revenue from Mickey D will also decrease eventually.
So for conclusion, if the price is elastic, total revenue moves in the direction of the quantity change. And secondly, if the price is inelastic, total revenue moves in the direction of the price change.
So lastly, thanks for all the attention given to us along our presentation.
In conclusion, McDonald's is elastic demand. A small rise in price will cause a proportionally bigger drops in sales and McDonald's revenue will fall. Conversely, a small drop in price will cause a proportionally smaller drop in sales and the revenue of McDonald's will rise. All of the consumer's reaction is measured solely based on the price elasticity of demand, and it will determine whether the consumer is solely reliant upon the brand or product.